Fearless girl jumps in to save rich kid from drowning. You won't believe what happens next. The sun shimmered on the water's surface, giving it an almost otherworldly glow. Laughter echoed across the beach, but it all vanished in an instant. A scream pierced through the joyous chatter, shrill and desperate. Everyone turned to see it. Jackson, the golden boy with the perfect smile, flailing helplessly beneath the teasing waves of the Pacific. Panic rushed through the crowd, an electric current of fear that turned sunbathers into frantic onlookers. Who would save him? But standing just steps away was Emily, the girl nobody thought would step up. She was small, unassuming, often overlooked, but something flickered in her eyes, a spark of courage. Without a thought, she leaped, cutting through the water like a bullet. The onlookers gasped. Was she really going to do it? After all, Jackson had just called her, just another nerd, earlier that day. No one expected her to dive for him. The water swallowed her whole, and for a moment, the beach felt frozen in time. Waves crashed over her, salty fingers clinging to her face. The pressure built around her, dark and heavy, making her chest tighten with each desperate kick. She could see Jackson's panicked face, his wide eyes mixing confusion with terror. He needed her, but the depth was tricky, shadows creeping around him like predators waiting to pounce. Then, a bizarre split-second flicker caught her attention. It was something shiny beneath the surface, glinting with an eerie glow. It seemed out of place, and curiosity flared within her, almost powerful enough to distract her from the urgency of the moment. What was it? Where had it come from? Her heart raced, battling both fear and intrigue. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Emily pushed through, her arms screaming from the strain, desperation turning into force. She reached for Jackson, who was still struggling. But as she grasped his hand, the water swirled violently around them, dragging them deeper. The glow from the mysterious object pulsed like a heartbeat, now impossibly close. What was it? Was it fate guiding her, or something else entirely? Just when she thought she might drown under the weight of confusion and fear, a surge of energy exploded inside her, and she knew she had to find the surface. She kicked harder, driven by instincts she didn't fully understand but couldn't ignore. The beach shrunk, the world above blurring into colors as they ascended. With every ounce of strength, Emily climbed, pulling Jackson with her. A rush of bubbles burst around them like fireworks, the surface calling like a lifeline. Would they breach the surface, or would they be lost to the mysteries of the ocean forever? As they pushed through the final veil of water, a chilling thought swept through her. Whatever lay beneath, waiting for her to explore, would never let her go. Emerging from the depths, Emily's head broke the surface with a forceful gasp, the salty air stinging her lungs. She felt Jackson's grip tighten around her arm, panic etching lines into his face. They were alive. The beach stretched before them, a blur of shocked faces and gasping spectators. Emily treaded water, gathering her bearings, but her mind was only half present. That glow, what had it meant? Later, maybe. Right now, survival was paramount. Swim! She shouted, the urgency threading through her voice. Jackson nodded, his eyes wide with fear. As they splashed toward the safety of the shore, Emily felt the weight of his body, the panic mixing with her own dread. Yet she could not shake that glimmering curiosity of what lay below, how it beckoned to her amidst the chaos. They reached the shallows, waves lapping at their bodies, and she pulled him onto the sand, collapsing next to him. Jackson coughed, spitting out water, his composure cracking. Why did you jump in? You could have drowned. He gasped, eyes fiery like a storm. Emily felt the sting of his words. I didn't think I just acted. Acted? He seethed. You're insane. I could have died. Their confrontation sent shockwaves through the remaining crowd, whispers sparking like dry kindling. She saw the sneers on some faces, others looked on with admiration. A bizarre mix of anger and gratitude, but she was caught in the whirlwind of her own emotions. Ignoring the crowd's judgment, she stood, shaking off the sand that stuck to her wet skin. Out of nowhere, a commotion erupted behind them. A woman shouted, "There's something out there." Emily swung around, her heart knocking against her chest. A group of beachgoers was pointing frantically into the water. What was it? Panic spread like wildfire again, the sunlight glinting off something just below the waves, shimmering like a beacon calling to her, daring her to find it. This is crazy, she muttered to herself. Emily, don't. We just got out. Jackson pleaded, already gasping for air again. But curiosity ruled her heart, and as she glanced back at the water, an unbearable urge twisted inside her. The unease of the crowd and their whispered speculations settled over her like a cloak. Suddenly, she was the center of a storm, and she could feel every eye on her, questioning her bravery. I have to know what it is, she said, resolve hardening her voice as she edged backward toward the waves. Are you serious? Jackson shouted, catching her arm. But she shrugged free, her pulse quickening at the thought of that glow. It beckoned her like a muse. There was no thinking, only acting. The ocean soothed her restless spirit, whispering promises of secrets hidden in its depths. With a final glance at the frantic beach, she dove. This time, the water was colder, sharper. She sank beneath the surface, the sun becoming a distant memory above. Each kick brought her closer to that mysterious glow, and the shadows danced around her again, winding through her resolve. Her lungs burned, and she pushed harder, driven by an indescribable force. As she reached the spot, the water twisted strangely, and there it was, a silver object radiating an intense light. When she grasped it, a sudden rush of energy coursed through her, vibrant and surreal. But in that split second of euphoria, she sensed something else in the depths, something ancient and alive, stirring awake. Was it a warning? As the freezing grip of the ocean tightened around her, a relentless pull dragged her downward, and Emily's heart skipped. Was it her imagination or real danger rising from the abyss? What had she awoken? What else lurked below? Coming back to the surface, she swam with urgency, disoriented, the thrill morphing into terror. She struggled against the current, the silver object clutched tightly in her hand. But she couldn't forget the pull she had felt, the weight of what might be lurking close behind her in that moment. She realized the true peril might not be in the water, but rather what she had just unearthed. Emily burst through the surface again, gasping for air, eyes wide with fear and confusion. She felt the ocean continue to churn around her, but her mind was locked on the silver object that shimmered in her palm. It pulsed with energy, almost like it was alive. Every instinct told her to let go, to swim to the safety of the shore and escape the tidal force that seemed to be pulling her back. But the glow held her captive. What was it? What had she found? The chaos at the beach intensified as faces blurred in her vision. Jackson's frantic shouts faded into unintelligibility mingled with the crashing waves. She caught glimpses of the crowd, pointing and whispering, their shock fueling her adrenaline. With a mighty kick, she turned and swam toward the shore, the silver object clutched tightly against her chest. Each stroke felt heavier than the last, as if the ocean were trying to draw her back down into its depths. It was an unseen force, intimidating and powerful. Her heart raced with every chill that crawled down her spine. Suddenly, a dark shadow flicked in her periphery. Panic flared inside her as she glanced back. Something was moving beneath the surface, a shape, large and undulating. The color drained from her face as realization crashed down. Whatever she had disturbed in the water wasn't just a shimmering artifact. It was awakening something ancient and fierce. Emily. Swim. Jackson's voice cracked through the haze of fear. His silhouette was a beacon against the angry waves, but she could see even from afar that he was beckoning desperately, fear dancing in his eyes. The crowd on the beach seemed to have drifted in a fog of disbelief, their attention fixated on her, a whirlwind of conflicting emotions flashing across their faces. She kicked harder, her limbs feeling like lead as the weight of the silver object pulled her down. The shadow beneath surged, closer now, and Emily's gut twisted. It was enormous. She could barely make out its form, a mass of elongated shapes that seemed to ripple and twist in the water. It was alive, hungry, and she could feel its presence. Every instinct clawed at her to turn back, to abandon the object and flee, but she couldn't let go. As if drawn by an invisible thread, she continued swimming, the weight of the thing in her hand a tether to uncertainty. Emily. The desperation in Jackson's voice sharpened. It shook her from the trance that had taken hold of her. She knew she had to make it back. As she glanced back once more, fear gripped her heart. The shadow lunged, breaking the surface with a massive splash. A gasp went through the crowd, their collective breath held in anticipation as they watched. Emily's heart hammered violently as the creature broke through. It rose with ferocity, a scale-covered beast with glowing eyes set on her. A shudder swept through her body, her instincts screaming that she was in the presence of something not of this world. Emily, now! Jackson screamed, his voice snapping like a whip against the roar of the waves. She swam as fast as she could, urgency spurring her forward, dodging the thrashing tail that swept dangerously close. She broke through the surf and felt hot sand beneath her fingers, but the ocean tried to drag her back down. With one last desperate push, she lunged onto the shore, tumbling forward onto the waiting sand as she gasped for breath. The crowd cheered, but Emily's heart sank. She turned back to the water, where the creature had paused, its glowing eyes fixed on her. The silver object felt even heavier now. What had she unleashed? The murmurs of the crowd washed over her, but a single thought echoed louder in her mind. There was something special about the object, something that called to her. And as she lay there, adrenaline fading, another realization struck. That glow wasn't just a relic, it was a key. But to what? A slow dread settled over her as shadows formed in the water once more. Whatever she had found was far from finished, and neither was the adventure that lay ahead. Emily lay on the beach, the heat from the sand mixing uneasily with the cold dread swirling inside her. She could still see the creature's glowing eyes, locked on her, and the weight of the silver object felt like a stone in her chest. The shouts of the crowd faded into the background as she struggled to catch her breath, her heart racing like a drumbeat of impending doom. "Did you see that?" a voice shouted somewhere in her vicinity. The excitement in the air was palpable, but Emily felt anything but thrilled. What had she done? The water was still churning, foam cresting as if it were alive, and the creature seemed to share a knowing glance with the silver object now cradled softly in her arms. Jackson rushed to her side, face pale. "Are you okay?" he asked, but the words felt distant. She nodded, though her pulse was still surging with fear. "That thing," she stammered, gesturing wildly toward the ocean. The crowd continued to murmur, their eyes wide with disbelief and exhilaration. They were part of a spectacle, but she felt like chaos boiled under the surface. "It's gone," Jackson said, but Emily could feel the truth. It wasn't gone, it was merely lurking, waiting for the moment she would betray her trust. What had she awakened with her curiosity? Emily shook her head, trying to dispel the vision of those glowing eyes, but instead, a horrifying thought struck her. What if it's not done with us? Jackson took a deep breath, scanning the horizon. "Let us get you away from the water." He grabbed her hand, and together they backed away as a ripple sparkled through the surface, the ocean's color shifting to a deep, unforgiving blue. As they retreated, whispers floated into the air, words like myth and legend slithering through the crowd, igniting excitement like gasoline on fire. People pushed closer, hungry for details, but all Emily wanted was silence, a moment to clear her mind. A dull throb began to echo in her temples, and she bit her lip, fighting the rising tide of panic. What is that thing? Jackson's eyes were wide, blending awe with fear. Emily could feel her own wide-eyed terror reflected back at her. And why did you pull it out? I don't know, she whispered, glancing down at the silver object glinting in the fading light. It just felt important. Important how? He pressed, his voice edged with urgency. Did you hear what you were saying? You could have been eaten. I felt it call to me, she said, confusion knotted in her gut. It was like it needed me. Before Jackson could respond, a distant rumble drew their attention back to the ocean. The waves began to swell, brushing against the shore hungrily as if trying to reclaim what she had taken. Then, without warning, a large fin broke through the surface, slicing the water cleanly. Gasps echoed from the crowd as the creature surged closer, emerging with a flash of scales glimmering in the twilight. The cheers turned to screams as people stumbled backward, fear mixing with exhilaration. Get back! Someone yelled, but Emily stood frozen, her breath hitching. She clutched the silver object tightly, adrenaline pouring through her veins like ice water. And just like that, the glowing eyes returned, locked on her once more as if understanding the power she now held. Panic surged. She had a choice to make and she felt the weight of those blinking eyes judging her. What if she could control it? What if the glow was more than just a key to something unknown? She whispered it slowly, a murmur barely reaching her ears, "What do you want from me?" As if answering her, the creature slithered back beneath the waves. The water closed like a door behind it, but the air crackled with unspoken tension. Out there, among those depths, lay answers she desperately wished to find. Emily. Jackson's voice turned urgent again, pulling her out of her reverie. What is happening? I don't know, she whispered, caught up in the swell of anticipation, but as she turned to face her friend, something in the waves began to form again, a dark omen rising slowly. And Emily knew, deep down, this was just the beginning. What was the purpose of that silver object? And what price would she pay to discover the truth? The waves seemed to whisper secrets as they rolled closer, almost taunting Emily. The dark form below wasn't just a shadow anymore, it was something real, something alive. Panic bubbled up in her chest, but so did a fierce curiosity that pulsed through her veins. The silver object thrummed, and she realized it resonated with the same rhythm as her heartbeat. Emily. Jackson's shout pulled her back again. We need to get out of here, now. She blinked hard, trying to find her footing in the chaos erupting around them. People were pushing toward the shoreline, drawn by a mix of fear and fascination. Soon, it felt like a stampede, a wild rush toward the water as if they had forgotten the danger that lurked just below the surface. It was maddening. No. Wait. Emily shouted, waving her hands to stop the flow, half terrified the creature would strike again, half desperate to keep the crowd at bay. But her voice was drowned out by the rising excitement of the crowd, a collective frenzy that felt intoxicatingly reckless. Suddenly, a loud splash erupted from the ocean, startling everyone. The great fin crashed down, creating a tsunami of foamy water that sprayed across the sand. Emily felt her heart leap, trapped somewhere between terror and awe. Whatever was in the ocean wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Emily. Jackson grabbed her shoulders, pulling her gaze back to him. You're not seriously thinking about I don't know? She snapped, her voice brittle. She needed answers, yet the thought of diving back into that frigid water felt insane. But that creature, she couldn't shake the connection. What if she could harness it? Before Jackson could stop her, Emily felt an overwhelming rush surge through her body. The silver object pulsed, calling out louder than the chaos surrounding her. She took a shaky breath, glancing back toward the tumultuous sea. With a single motion, she dashed forward, the sand slipping beneath her feet, propelling her into the waves. Emily. No. Jackson shouted, panic lacing his voice as he lunged after her, but it was too late. The water closed over her head, and she was enveloped in darkness. She gasped, instinctively kicking her legs, but the cold stung her skin, and the weight of the water pressed down like a lead blanket. Panic threatened to overtake her, yet she fought to focus. Where was it? Those eyes? She knew they were there, watching, waiting, and then, she felt it, the gentle touch of something brushing against her. The water around her shimmered as that deep, ethereal blue illuminated the world. Emily kicked her feet harder, breaking the surface to find the creature looming right before her. Its massive form glided effortlessly, scales shimmering with an otherworldly glow, and its eyes, those captivating, burning eyes, gazed into her soul. A moment stretched into eternity, and she could swear it recognized her, as if confirming some unspoken pact between them. "Help me," she whispered, the words escaping through chattering teeth. As if in response, the creature surged forward, a wave of power and warmth flowing through the water toward her, pulling her deeper. Emily felt herself start to glide along with it, an inexplicable connection forming that she couldn't comprehend. This was no ordinary sea creature, it was something ancient and profound, but then everything shifted. The moment shattered as the ground beneath her began to tremble. With horror, she realized the ocean wasn't just swaying, it was turbulent, angry, as if responding to her defiance. The air crackled with energy, and she could hear the distant roar of the crowd on the beach. In confusion and uncertainty, Emily could only cling to that shimmering creature, unsure if she was its savior or its prisoner. The world was spinning, reality slipping through her fingers like sand. What would happen when they surfaced? What awaited her on the shore? And would the silver object be the key to unlocking her fate or sealing her doom? In that moment, she felt the pull deepen, a calling stronger than anything before. All at once, she heard a voice echoing in her mind. "Will you embrace the tide?" The stakes were rising, and Emily knew one thing for certain: the answers lay just beyond the waves, but they came at an unimaginable cost. What would she have to sacrifice to uncover the truth? The world around Emily twisted as she dove deeper, the creature guiding her with an unwavering force. Waves of energy pulsed through her, filling the freezing water with unnatural warmth. She could still hear the chaos on the shore, the desperate cries and the sounds of panic. But here, beneath the surface, it was different. The ocean felt alive, and so did she. It was as if the creature and the water spoke to each other in a language only they understood, an ancient rhythm that thrummed in her bones. Emily dared a glance at the creature's face. It was magnificent, eyes filled with wisdom and a strange sadness. It had scales of shimmering silver and deep blue, glistening like a piece of the sky swallowed by the sea. There was something alluringly dangerous about it, yet she felt drawn closer, as if it were asking her to trust it, but the tremors above broke through her reverie. The flickering light from the shore flickered in the depths, growing dimmer with each passing second. Her heart raced. She strained to listen, the voice echoing again inside her head. "Will you embrace the tide?" What does that even mean? She shouted, her voice lost in the swirling water. In response, the creature turned and shot through an underwater passage, its massive form gliding effortlessly in the current. Emily followed, her limbs moving almost subconsciously, as if she were meant to be here, part of this world. Each kick propelled her forward, determined. A labyrinth of coral and rock structures revealed itself, vibrant and alive, sea life dancing in and out of view, elusive but enchanting. However, just as awe filled her heart, a shadow flickered in the corner of her eye. Panic washed over her again. It wasn't just the creature she felt. Something else lurked here, more sinister. She glanced back, her heart pounding, bracing herself against the swell of terror creeping into her chest. The shadow surged toward them, narrowing the distance in a heart-stopping moment. Emily squinted, fear coiling tight within her. It seemed darker than everything else, its movements choppy, erratic. "Stay close," she shouted, directing her voice to the creature, who clearly was not just a friend but a guardian. The shadow broke the surface, revealing not one, but a multitude of dark forms, sleek, fast, and aggressive. Sharks. Their thin silhouettes glided through the water, eyes locking onto her in the dim light. Every instinct screamed at her to break away, to swim back, but she couldn't. The silver creature flowed around her, cutting through the water with unmatched grace, blocking her path to safety. As the first shark lunged, snapping its jaws, Emily felt the surge of the silver object at her chest pulse with energy. It was alive. Like a heart beating. Embrace it. She heard the voice again, clearer this time, resonating through every fiber of her being. And somewhere deep in her, a flame ignited a fearlessness she didn't know she had. As the creature shifted, the water shimmered with electric energy, the ocean responding to her resolve. With a swift movement, she reached for the tide, feeling the power of the ocean swell around her. An ancient energy coursed through her veins, and suddenly, the water felt like an extension of her body. Then, with all her strength, she turned to face the fiends. They were no match for the force that had awakened within her. But just as she gathered her courage, a jarring darkness enveloped her. The water churned violently, throwing her off balance. The creature beside her let out a low rumble, warning her as its radiant light flickered like a candle in the wind. As frenzy consumed them, she grasped the silver object tightly, a decision forming in her mind. She had to confront this darkness, or risk losing everything. The roar of the ocean echoed in her ears, and she felt it something waiting to be released. Would she discover the truth hiding beneath the waves, or would it consume her whole? As Emily readied herself to face the impending battle, her heart pounded. The tides were shifting, and she was about to find out just how deep the waters went. Emily barely had a moment to gather herself before the darkness surged again, swirling around her like a living thing. The creature's golden gaze shone brightly, cutting through the blackness, but shadows loomed large, their movement chaotic and unpredictable. The sharks twisted and darted toward her, hunger glinting in their eyes, but she stood her ground, her conviction solid, her pulse quickening. With a roar that reverberated through the water, she thrust her arms outward, feeling the surge of energy at her core expand into the ocean around her. The water responded whirling, bending to her will. For the first time, she did not fear the depths. She was power and purpose, a force rising from the depths. Stay away. She commanded the water itself, her voice reverberating deep within, an echo of authority that sent ripples through the abyss. The sharks hesitated, momentarily confused. They sensed her bravery, her challenge. The creature turned slightly, its gills pulsing, an encouragement that drove her further. Embrace the tide. It seemed to say, its eyes gleaming with a wisdom that transcended fear. Emily felt the truth of those words colliding with her. The dark shape circled, but with each flick, she sent out tendrils of light, bursts of energy that snaked through the water and struck the sharks, sending them reeling back. With each pulse, a bright flare illuminated the murky depths, revealing their predatory forms juxtaposed against the beauty of a realm unspoiled. But the darkness was not done. A massive shadow, larger than the others, finally emerged, the Alpha, pulsing with fury, a monstrous creature whose presence sent chills through her. It lunged toward her, teeth bared, eyes wild. Emily felt a twist of fear but cradled the silver object against her chest, recognizing the others were merely distractions. The true threat had arrived. Closing her eyes, she reached deep within, pulling on every ounce of strength and courage. In this moment, her fear transformed into clarity. When she opened her eyes, they sparked with brilliance, the silver object radiating energy that shifted the water, becoming a beacon. Not today, she whispered, letting go of everything that held her back. With a powerful sweep of her arms, she channeled the energy into a forceful wave that crashed against the alpha shark, stunning it in its tracks. The water erupted into a frenzied display of glimmering light and crashing energy. The other sharks hesitated again, caught off guard by the unexpected resistance and now lurking in the shadows. As the alpha steadied itself, Emily saw determination written in its every sinew, a fire that mirrored her own spirit. In that moment, she understood, this had never been about fighting. It was about connection. But the sharks regrouped, their ferocity returning. The creature beside her slid closer, ready to protect her, but she sensed a shift. The unyielding darkness wasn't only theirs, it was shared. Breathe! She shouted, and the words took on a life of their own. They echoed through the water, a reminder of life, beauty, and balance. Just as she felt the tumult reigniting, the silver object pulsed again. The darkness quivered, hesitating, as if torn between instinct and understanding. With a surge of emotion, Emily projected a wave of calm. "We aren't your enemies," she called out, hoping her heart would resonate with the creatures of the depths. For a fleeting moment, the chaos stilled. Dark forms edged closer, their eyes filled with uncertainty. Had she found a bridge across that abyss? But as the alpha shark surged forward again, the moment shattered, and darkness surged back. The creature beside her braced itself, ready to strike. Emily's heart raced. Would she lose everything she built in pursuit of connection? Determined, she drew the energy to her once more, defiant against the tide. The tides were shifting in a way she never expected, but she hoped, somehow, the answers awaited her still. What lay beyond that ultimate confrontation with fear? Would she unravel the truth that linked them all, or would it drown them both? The water roared, a wild beast tossing Emily about as the alpha shark charged. Its fury matched her resolve, and she could feel the weight of the moment hang thick in the currents. Time felt suspended, caught somewhere between her rising fear and a glimmer of hope. The golden eyes of the creature next to her glowed brighter, a signal of solidarity. She could sense its heart beating in rhythm with her own. Together she whispered, as if the word alone could hold back the chaos. The alpha shark, now just a few feet away, opened its mouth wide, revealing a terrifying array of serrated teeth. Panic threatened to choke her. But just as the creature lunged, Emily unleashed all of her energy, channeling it through the silver object, radiating warmth and light into the chilled depths. The wave knocked the alpha back, stumbling it as it reeled in confusion. Emily felt the connection strengthen. In that fleeting moment, she envisioned the ocean not as a battleground but as a sanctuary for all. With a shout, she broadened her stance, arms splayed, and focused on what she truly wanted, understanding. Around her, the water rippled with a soft glow, pulsating in sync with her heartbeat. The sharks paused, their aggression wavering as curiosity pricked at their instincts. Emily couldn't tell if it was courage or madness, but she spread her energy wider, creating a dome of light, yet the alpha wasn't finished. Regaining its composure, it struck again, surging like a torpedo straight toward her. Emily felt her heart race, the weight of the world crashing down. Moments blurred as adrenaline surged. "I want back down," she screamed. The silver object went into overdrive, glowing fiercely. She thrust her palms forward, pushing through the tide, channeling everything she had into a blinding light. The ocean erupted, a shower of flickering particles dancing all around them. The alpha shark, caught in that brilliance, hesitated. Then it surged, breaking through the light with savage intensity. But it collided with the wave, not as an enemy, but as something confused searching for clarity. Emily held her ground, trembling but unwavering. "Please," she gasped, the words spilling from her lips, sinking into the water. "Feel." As her energy intertwined with the fear swirling around her, it became a thread binding them. The darkness responded, hesitant at first, then curious, slowly unwinding in the light she cast. The alpha shark let out an unexpected sound, a mix of growl and something deeper, almost sorrowful. Suddenly, a flicker of memory crossed Emily's mind, images of friends laughing, waves crashing against the shore, sunsets painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The beauty of life propelled her. "We're more alike than you know," she called out, her voice cutting through the darkness like a lifeline. The sharks hovered, dark shapes suspended in the sparkling glow. Emily's heart soared. Could the darkness truly be part of them? Just as hope started to rise, the tranquility was ruptured. A violent surge washed over them, pulling Emily and the creature under, away from the soft light. Cold terror gripped her as the waters twisted violently, dragging them deeper, further into the unknown. She felt the grip of fear around her throat, cutting off her breath. The creature beside her thrashed, trying to break free from the encroaching darkness. "Hold on!" she cried, not sure if it was for them or herself. Desperation fueled her movements, but the currents were merciless, tightening like a noose. What awaited in the depths? Could they both escape the grip of the darkness? Time was slipping through her fingers, and Emily's world turned hazy. But in that moment, something ignited within her, an unyielding spirit that refused to be extinguished. Where would it take her next, and what unseen truths lay lurking just out of reach? The darkness closed in, a suffocating blanket wrapping around them. Emily felt the icy tendrils of fear clawing at her mind, trying to drown out the sparks of hope still flickering within her. She gritted her teeth, fighting against the chilling grip of despair. The creature beside her swam frantically, its sleek body a dark shadow against the disorienting depths. All Emily could do was cling to the silver object pulsing in her hand, its warmth now a vital anchor in the raging cold. "Please!" she shouted to the creature, surprised at how loud her voice rang in the silent void. "You have to fight with me." The creature paused, its golden eyes locking onto hers. In that moment, it seemed to understand. An electric charge surged between them, reverberating through the water. Emily concentrated, channeling every ounce of her will through the silver object, determined to break free. She felt the power of the ocean around her, a force both ancient and untamed. As if responding to her plea, the water began to tremble, trembling under the weight of her intent. It twisted and swirled, igniting a luminous path. The darkness around them shrank back, losing its murderous grip. "Let us go!" she yelled, propelling herself forward, the light pulsating brighter with every stroke. The creature matched her intensity, its powerful tail cutting through the water like a knife. Together they surged upward, forging a path through the shadowy abyss. Pressure built in her ears as they ascended. Panic hit her like a wave. Were they going to make it? Would she breathe air again? The thought clawed at her chest. But she forced herself to focus, narrowing her vision on the growing shaft of light above. They were getting closer. Then, just as liberation felt within reach, a dark shadow flashed across her vision. The Alpha was back, emboldened by the fleeting bravado of the darkness. It surged upward behind them, faster than she could process. "Emily!" The creature beside her screamed in a guttural sound, a warning echoing in her mind. The water roared, a beast unleashed. She felt the current shift violently as the alpha shark lunged forward. Instinct kicked in, a cold rush of adrenaline surged through her, and she pushed harder. The surface glimmered just above, taunting her with rays of hope. "Focus!" she shouted into the murky depths, forcing the panic out of her voice. The creature swam closer, its form a shield against the impending violence. "Stay with me." They burst through the surface together, gasping for air, the salty taste cutting through the fear that coated her tongue. But no sooner had she inhaled than the alpha broke the surface behind them, teeth bared, rage fueling its predatory instincts. Emily's heart raced as she scanned the horizon, desperate for escape. A small boat floated a distance away, a white speck on the vast water. "We have to reach that," she shouted, knowing time was no longer an ally. With renewed determination, she propelled herself forward, the creature gliding fiercely beside her. But the alpha shark was relentless, circling back as it closed in. Emily could feel its presence looming, a massive shadow shimmering beneath the surface. "Move!" she urged, her voice trembling with urgency. "Don't look back." Fueled by a fear that was now intertwined with her resolve, she swam harder than she ever had. Just as the boat began to grow closer, a pulse of fear gripped her heart. Would they make it? Or would the darkness reclaim its grip, the world around her blurred, the fight for survival more urgent than ever? She could hear the roars, the shark's fury was palpable, echoing in the water. "Help!" she screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the waves. The distance between her and the safety of the boat felt insurmountable, every stroke lined with desperation. But she refused to yield, refusing to let this be the end. Just as the alpha shark thrashed toward them, something deep within Emily flickered, a resolve forged in the most fearful of moments. She would not let fear win today. But as the predator lunged forward, unfathomably close, she felt an icy grip around her heart. What was waiting for her in the depths, and would she finally uncover the truth hidden beneath the surface? Emily's heart raced, thumping like a wild drum as she paddled furiously toward the small boat bobbing in the distance. Every stroke felt like a fight against an unending tide, the shark's aggressive presence hovering close behind. The deep growl of the beast echoed in her ear, and with every flick of her legs, the pulse of the silver object in her grip throbbed with urgency. "Stay strong," the creature beside her seemed to whisper. Its steadfast presence brought her a surge of hope, a flicker of light in the horror opposing her. She could almost taste the salt of the ocean and the sheer grit of survival in her mouth. With every ounce of strength she had left, Emily pushed forward, driven by a force greater than herself. She had been chosen, and even now, she felt the warmth of that connection brightening her spirit like the sun breaking through an overcast sky, but suddenly, the water erupted at her side. The alpha shark lunged, snapping its teeth, sending waves crashing around her. The force of it was overwhelming, knocking the breath from her lungs as she struggled to stay afloat. The roar of the ocean roared like thunder around her, spiraling her into chaos. "Emily!" Jackson's voice erupted from somewhere on the shore, cutting through her fear. She could see him, an indistinct figure against the fading light, shouting and pointing, urging her on. "You have to do it." With a sudden clarity, she knew. She had to embrace the tide completely. Her pulse raced faster than before, ignited by a primal instinct to survive. She dove deep, out of the water's turmoil, reaching for that strange connection with the creature deep below. "I trust you," she whispered, and with those words, she felt the silver object resonate with purpose. The ocean hummed in response, vibrating around her as she became part of the wave itself. Emerging back on the surface, she rallied her energy. "I release you," she shouted, raising her hands to the creature that had guided her through darkness toward the truth beneath the waves. The object glowed brightly, warming in her grasp, and she could feel the ocean shifting in response. A surge of light enveloped her, radiating in all directions, illuminating the waters in a dazzling spectacle. The alpha shark reared back, confused by the sudden brightness that shone through the depths, hesitating as fear sparked within its predatory instincts. Together, she and the creature surged forward. The light spilled across the ocean, connecting the flickering shadows and the uncertainty brewing beneath the waves. "We can change this," she screamed, her voice filled with power. "You are not my enemy." The creature hesitated, and for a brief moment, all was still. The water calmed, the swirling chaos settling like dust in the quiet aftermath of a storm. "All creatures can be part of this harmony," she continued, focusing on the alpha. "We can coexist." With that, the light glowed brighter, and the sharks around them slowed, sensing the change. The alpha released its hold, eyeing her with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Slowly, it swam back, conforming to the rhythm she was creating, the ancient dance of the ocean. Emily felt the connection deepen. It was true, they were all part of this ecosystem. The darkness that had inhabited her mind twisted with clarity, transforming into feelings of peace. The silver object's pulsing glow seemed to mend the gulf between them. "Come," she whispered, extending her hand toward the shadowy leviathan. "Join us." Suddenly, the alpha surged forward, but instead of aggression, it met the light with its own. Energy burst forth, intertwining in a radiant display, cycling between predator and protector. Allies became one as darkness slowly turned to light, and just like that, tragedy faded, the battle transformed into connection. A serene hum filled the water, an ancient song of understanding. The ocean was healing, and within that healing, Emily found herself. She turned to the beach. Jackson was there, wide-eyed, hands raised in awe, the crowd behind him caught in the spectacle of living magic. "You did it!" he shouted, tears glistening in his eyes. "You connected with it." Emily could only smile back, buoyant and full of newfound strength. She knew now that the silver object wasn't just a relic, it was hope. It was unity, a bridge spanning worlds that needed mending. As she floated in the embrace of the sea, Emily allowed the energy of the waters to wash over her, a testament to their bond, lifetimes of struggle, choices made binding them in ways she could hardly understand. She found Jackson's gaze, a mixture of admiration and disbelief, and she felt whole. "This is just the beginning," she murmured, drawing in the salty air, emboldened by what lay ahead. Together, they would explore the depths of this new world, the frontier of understanding it was about to offer. The waves rolled calmly, while a glimmer echoed below, awaiting their journey as the sun dipped under the horizon. This wasn't merely an end but the dawn of a deeper adventure. So let it begin. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that are coming your way. This is the moment to show your support for this incredible journey. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep us running. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything. Let us keep the adventure going.